What is up, FHS? My name is Caleb Truman. I'm here with Kevin Hines today. So, what made you decide to start traveling around and telling people?
It happened very reluctantly. I was in my first psych ward because after my jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, my physical recovery, I ended up going into a psychiatric unit for the first time. And there was a Franciscan friar, or what's known as the chaplain of the hospital, and he comes to my room and he walks in and he says, "Hey kid, what are you in for?" And he's all happy and jovial, and I was like, "Well, brother, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge." He didn't believe me. He thought I was delusional. I said, "No, brother, that's what happened. That's why the back brace, that's why the cane." And I was putting it on right there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel so silly. Let's pray." He starts praying with me, and he goes, "Kid, when you get better, you ought to talk about this." And I looked at him, and I said, "About what to who?" I didn't understand what he meant. Every day, Brother George Cherry would come in. Every day he would say, "Kid, when you get better, you ought to talk about this," when he left. On the final day of my last day of the stay in the psych ward, a month in, my dad's kind of helping me hobble down the walkway there of the psych ward. Brother George Cherry comes out and he goes, "Kid, I expect you'll talk about this." Well, I get out of the hospital and I go to church with my dad, church I grew up in, and the priest there comes out after the service and says, "Kevin, how would you like to come and talk to our 7th and 8th grade class about your experience this Good Friday?" And I said, "Father, I don't have a speech and I wouldn't know what to say." I go on Good Friday and I deliver that speech I told you about. And I didn't think it was going to help a soul. When I got to the last of the 17 pages that I dropped to the floor while shaking and crying, holding my cane with my back brace, I thought, what a waste of time for everybody involved. And then 8 hands go up. And they were all intuitive, empowering, important, and moving questions. And I knew I'd made an impact. When I got to my dad's house, Monsignor Herman called me, I think 2 weeks later. And he says, "Kevin, I'd like you to come to the rectory. I've got something for you." So I huck up 2 miles. My dad's at work. So I'm on my back brace and my cane, excruciating back pain after surgery, hucking up this huge hill. And I get to the rectory, and Monsignor Herman looks at me and he hands me a manila envelope. And he says, "Open it." I open it, and there's 120 letters from 120 kids. Have an assembly, mandate that they write letters to the speaker who's talked about what they're going through if they're under 18, screen the letters, and you'll know who's in trouble. We screened those letters, the teachers screened those letters. 6 of the kids were actively suicidal. We found it in their letters. We got them the help they need. They're alive today. 2 of them work in the mental health field. So we knew we made an impact. My dad saw the letters. He said, "Kevin, we have to do this however, wherever, and whenever possible," and we never stopped. Hundreds of thousands of people in 22 years of doing this work have written to me and said this story saved or changed their life. I don't own that, though. I don't save or change lives. I'm a conduit. I'm like a messenger. I give a word. People go home. They do the work. They save and change their own life. It's cause and effect, right? So I give a message that connects to people. They go home and they change their lives. Today is not tomorrow. Just because you're in a world of pain today doesn't mean you don't get to have that beautiful tomorrow. But you have to be here to get there in the first place. You know, there's so many valuable things that would have never happened. So you got to be here to get there in the first place. So keep fighting, keep working towards better brain health, and never give up this life for anything. You're worthy, you're valued, you matter, and we love you. And the kids that shared their stories today, the 2 on the microphone and the folks that came up afterwards, there was at least 20 to 30 kids that came up afterwards and shared their story and what they're going through. And they're going through a world of pain. And they need our help, and we're going to help them. We got them to help. I'll tell you one thing. The 2 young people who spoke on the microphone, they touched my heart. And I want to give a shout out to them right now. They shared their stories of terrible tragedy, and they're going to triumph over that tragedy. They're not going to take their lives. They're going to be here tomorrow. They're going to fight their pain, and I hope I can be a small part of that.
If you or someone you know needs help, I ask you to please contact the number shown on screen now, or call the anonymous tip line by going to the Farmington homepage, go to Students, then click on the Knights tip line.
Reporting for BKTV News, this is Richard Skinner and Caleb Truman.